Hi everyone. Hi Fabio. Hi Gary. Welcome back to another
Hello.
episode of TV. Hi. So today, one second, sorry. So we're going to talk about the concept of tokenization, right? I mean, we're going to talk about tokenization of assets and how it's going to disrupt the finance industry. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. So, talking about tokenization based on blockchain technology. So, as we know, as we have seen far-reaching effects on the capital market and its intermediaries, right? The ability to represent any value and rights in digital form, that is in the form of tokens, offers enormous potential for the investment universe and puts traditional financial market players to the test. It is only a matter of time before the infrastructure of capital markets, I think, will be based on blockchain technology, which provides a platform for transactions of all kinds of valuables. This includes blockchain-based digital euros, but also all types of securities. So let's talk about the impact of tokenization of assets on the financial industry. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LaToken based here in Singapore, and I host VCTV. And yes, that's me. Let's start with some introductions. So, with of our speakers. Oh, I have Harsh as well. Sorry, Harsh, welcome and thank you so much for joining.
Sure,
Um,
sure,
so,
happy to be here.
great, awesome, fantastic. Let's start with you, Harsh. Then, let's start with your introduction.
Sure, glad to be back as always, and glad to see Gary here, Fabio as well. Hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah,
So, a short,
absolutely, Harsh. It's good to see you too.
same here. Absolutely a pleasure as always. So, just a short background about myself. I'm a venture partner with our ventures. I'm also a founder of a Facebook group called Startup Hackers, where I'm helping early stage startups grow their startups, raise funds, expand their business, etc., through growth hacking and other routes, right? I currently have worked with many major unicorns, work with Fortune 50 companies, and I'm looking forward for a great discussion here today. Thank you so much.
Fantastic, and thank you, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Fabio, over to you, please.
I'm an economist by training. I have a PhD in economics from the University of Chicago. I've worked for international institutions such as the European Central Bank, the International Monetary Fund. Then I moved to the private sector to work for Goldman Sachs and later for a few sovereign wealth funds in Qatar, UAE, and lastly in Oman, where I was the chief strategy officer of the Oman Investment Fund. In my latest incarnation, a year and a half ago, I became a partner of an investment bank based in New York with offices in Dubai and Hong Kong. And I'm primarily engaged in helping innovative companies to raise funds on the US capital market, specifically on the over-the-counter market in New York.
Oh, fantastic. I really like the reincarnation thing. Thank you, Fabio. It's always a pleasure to have you on VCTV. Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks, Sonia.
And good morning, Gary. How are you doing?
Good. I was listening to Fabio. Reincarnation, incarnation. It's interesting. What were you before, Fabio? I'm afraid to ask.
You don't want to know, Gary. Let me know.
This is not that kind of party.
Have you ever seen that kind of movie, Alien? The invasion of
No, I thought maybe it'd be one of those Arnold Schwarzenegger things. I'll be back. Remember, I said I wasn't going to kill you. I lied.
Yeah, with my eyes flashing red,
Exactly. Here's Johnny.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, anyhow, thanks, Sonny. I'm glad to be here at Comedy Hour. It's a great time this morning. My name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 companies, 2 unicorns, and I love AI and quantum computing. I was on the original management team of Click Software, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company, one of the top 10 in the world today. Hard to believe, 5 years ago, we founded this little tiny company and what it's grown to in a very short period of time. So I'm the CEO, co-founder, and president of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio curating companies from all over the world to help them go global using Silicon Valley support. I also write a lot. My latest article is on decentralized cybersecurity to defend against quantum attacks. And this week is quantum tunneling and the impact on wireless communications. And I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania, so what do I know? I just like to write.
I think the country boy knows a lot.
I don't know. The country boy just having a lot of fun, that's for sure.
You have those rustic qualities, Gary. I have a similar background. I also come from a small town, so
yeah. We were out. The fun in my town was like going up, hiking up in the mountains, going fishing, jumping off railroad bridges. The typical country stuff. Trying to ride cows. The fun stuff.
Awesome. Great. So let's talk about tokenization of assets. We've spoken about it before as well, but I think things are picked up, and every day we hear from news about institutional players investing into Bitcoin ETF, and whatnot, right? So let's start with this opening question, which I have. What impact will tokenization have on contemporary asset classes? I like to start with Fabio.
Certainly, like almost all new things, all innovations in the crypto space, tokenization gives a lot of excitement to a lot of people, and many of these people don't know what they're talking about. Tokenization essentially is a form of securitization. Okay, in its simplest form, you have an asset and you issue a token which represents parts of it. Now, there are several solutions. There are several ways and several concepts of tokenization. For example, a lot of people get excited about the tokenization of pieces of art. I don't know, paintings, antiques, statues, whatever. Now, that form of tokenization is, in my view, not particularly interesting, because let's assume that you have a Van Gogh and you issue 10,000 tokens representing each one fraction of that painting. Now, first of all, you don't know how much that Van Gogh might be worth. Today might be worth $100 million. Tomorrow might be worth $50 million. But that's the, let's say, the not so important aspect. The important aspect is, what do you do when you own such a small fraction of that painting? I mean, you can't go and say, oh, I want to transform my token into, a small rectangle or a small square of that painting. Analogously, if you issue token against real estate property, a castle or whatever, you can't monetize that token saying, oh, I want a brick of that castle, or I don't know, the bathtub of that property. So this form of tokenization, in my view, is an illusory aspect. More important and more interesting is the tokenization of, say, oil barrel, just to give you an example, or maybe cigarettes. For example, Philip Morris could tokenize its warehouse of cigarettes. So when you want to transform your token into a real world asset, you go to Philip Morris and you say, okay, give me, I don't know, of whatever. So that is a different, it's a more interesting form of tokenization, which is fairly, which is closely related to, for example, the stable coins. Okay, the stable coins are cryptocurrencies issued against a basket of fiat money, for example, a basket of dollar, euro, pound, and Swiss franc. Now, the concept in the token space, in the tokenization area, would be to issue a token against some real asset and use it as store of value or a means of exchange. Now, does it sound familiar? Yeah, because this was the gold standard, the monetary system pre-Bretton Woods, in which each banknote was convertible in gold at a fixed exchange rate. So if you wish, we're using the advance in technology, blockchain, distributed ledger, and so on and so forth, to recreate something that has been in place for centuries. So in that sense, it's a sort of, new brave world, which has solid foundation in the good old days.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely,
This is
absolutely.
my
Yeah, great. Thank you. Ahash, since you would be dropping off sooner, so let's take this from you. What impact does tokenization have on contemporary asset classes?
So definitely, you look at it, right? Just last week, Burger King created their first crypto tokens, right, in Russia. So you could, what that means is you could essentially buy burger products of Burger King through their own tokens. That is what we're talking about, like real life implementation, right? Up
Yeah,
until now, what used to be primarily theory, this is now being practically implemented, and that's the direction it's going to go, where we can see a whole new economy created on the crypto background, right? That is where I see, and it could completely change the way economies are working right now. Till date, we used to have this monopoly of the governments and the central banks, which used to dominate the world with their fiat currencies. Now, with the crypto tokens in place, that thing is going to be definitely challenged. It's not going to be as one-sided as it used to be. It's definitely going to be very diverse, right? At the same time, the ecosystem still needs to mature a lot. Currently, we can tokenize physical goods and digital goods, right? I think about a week or two back, Jack Dorsey had digitized his first Twitter tweet, and he sold that for millions of dollars. His
yes,
first tweet on Twitter, and it was a couple $1 million he sold that for. So we're already seeing the kind of applications that they're having through NFTs, where you're tokenizing art, you're tokenizing digital assets, which are very unique. You even had that Star Trek actor. He created his own crypto cards. It's a shame I can't remember his name right now. He's a big shot guy.
William
So he created
Shatner.
William Shatner, exactly. He created his own crypto cards and he kind of traded on them. Sorry,
Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk. Yeah. So he created his own crypto cards and he was trading on that, right? So definitely we are seeing a lot of implementation on physical and digital currencies. At the same time, so we need to also kind of figure out how we can take it to the next level, right? How do we tokenize a lot of subjective things, a lot of qualitative aspects of it? For example, how do you tokenize a person's effort built in creating something like a certain value, right? If you want to rate in terms of quality, how do you have a token which can kind of be a measure of quality? So in the regular world, in the regular system, we have these quality standards, right? How do we kind of create those quality standards in the crypto world? What does that look like? How do we measure the various degrees of effort? So Fabio was mentioning a point about Van Gogh, right? If you have a
Yeah.
Van Gogh painting, it has its own crypto token and its own asset associated with that. You have something like a Picasso that has its own value associated with that. How do we associate, these subjective elements to it? What kind of value do we associate with that, right? Once we'll obviously see a lot of experiments going in that space, but once we see some experiments going on and some things which are truly working and truly sticking, that is when we'll see a true domination and a complete new world order of sorts, where these cryptos really become really adopted on a large scale. And a lot of my friends back here in India keep on telling Bitcoin is growing like crazy, and I tell them Bitcoin is just a small piece of the puzzle. It is just like the entry point. It's nothing. You look at the other larger aspects of it, the larger impact and the larger implementation of it. That is where the real action is. Bitcoin is just a small piece of the puzzle.
I really like the way you said, small piece of the puzzle. I think we need more crypto savvy people, knowledgeable people to be able to guide the other people. For instance, India as a country, people shouldn't be banning them. Like the government shouldn't be banning them, right? There is a use case as a utility behind it. So thank you so much,
Yeah.
Harsh. Gary?
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions that are raised, right? So Harsh is right. We're in the beginning of something that's a lot bigger than a Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's just there's a digital transformation taking place and the democratization of the planet. And then at the same time, you've got currencies that are shifting. I mean, you got currencies that are not the fiat currencies that really aren't backed up with any. And as Fabio's a guru at, not really backed up by anything, but just faith. So it's interesting how it's changing. And then at the same time, it's a little bit concerning because I see some of these NFTs that are out there. And I mean, the crazy values of some of the things that are out there. It's just, I was thinking about putting a pair of socks up to see what I could get out of them. I'd never seen anything like it in my life, and so it's, yeah, I have one of Steve Jobs' shirts behind me in my room here. And I was thinking, what if I stick that up? I'd probably get $1 million for it, but it's
Gary, I'm wearing one. You see, I'm wearing one.
Pick it up, Marsh. Let's put it out there and see what we can get right off his back.
Let's tokenize it right now.
Yeah.
Tokenize it.
Yeah, for $1 million, I will. I will definitely be considering the offer.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We'll retire right away.
Yes.
And it's so amazing to me. It's like I remember Alan Greenspan said a long time ago, irrational exuberance. And the thing is, I don't know what the top or the bottom is of this new world because it's unpredictable, right? They said Bitcoin's going to be around 300,000 and Ethereum about 9 to 10,000 in the not too distant future. So it's interesting to see the kind of support because if you look at currencies, just the dollar, right? I mean, it's like the Chinese own a lot of the T-bills, and there's no gold standard really backing it up. It's unbelievable, and yet you've got these economies shifting: India rising, China rising, political tensions, Africa as a continent rising, also with incredible amount of natural resources. So it's it's I would not have thought about it 5 years ago, the way it's happening this quickly. But this whole idea of the pandemic has pushed things so fast forward that it's like holding on to the tail of a tiger, and trying to not get bitten. And so I think that we're going to see this fractional ownership idea is interesting. But then from my standpoint, if you have a Picasso picture and you fractionally own it, what do you really have? Because part of having a Picasso is being able to put it in your lobby of your or on your hallway to show it off. So what do? I mean, one of the ideas is you have a digital representation. They give you a replica of it that's authorized, right? So you got two worlds that come together. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Although, if you start doing irrational exuberance, it becomes a Dutch tulip phenomenon. And nothing's good when you have the Dutch tulip phenomenon, right, Fabio?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And by the way, you can own a piece of, say, masterpiece Van Gogh, as I was saying before, if you can, for example, display it in your bedroom for a week. Okay, so what you buy through the tokenization of that Van Gogh painting is the right to have it on display in your bedroom for a week. By the way, at the University of Chicago, when I was a graduate student, there was a program like that. There was an art collection which a wealthy donor named a guy by the name of Shapiro, he had donated this huge collection of paintings with Chagall, Matta, Picasso, and whatever, and on condition that the university would lend for a quarter the paintings to the students. And so we would go every quarter in the Ida Noyes Hall, which was the social hangout of the University of Chicago, and pick a painting, pay $5 for the insurance, and bring it home.
Oh my God!
$5.
And then you brought back the one with the Chinese replica, right?
Yeah, well, no, nobody ever did anything like that I know of. Okay, maybe some very good forger.
I just saw this thing on Netflix about this master painter. What a great idea!
Yeah.
Do you have any connections back to the university? I got a guy that might be able to help you out, Fabio. He's real good.
Oh, yeah. There are some who are better than the original,
Yeah, exactly. No, it's interesting. And then you look at timeshares, Sonny. When you buy a timeshare, you're just buying a portion of the value of the property. But then who really owns it? Who has the upkeep? What is the value? I mean, they traditionally have not been worth that much money in the States. So it's interesting, because part of it is, owning it and knowing that it's yours. But then owning it and knowing that it's ours is a whole different deal.
Absolutely. So Harsh is
So
going to be
actually, so actually building on Gary's point earlier, right now definitely we are seeing kind of like a huge bull rush towards the entire NFT and those kind of scenes. Normally what happens is whenever something new picks up, there's a lot of initial hype surrounding it, and it really leads to a lot of activity in that space, exactly like the tulip mania back in the 18th century, right? So right now we are seeing a lot of activity over there. Once it subsides and stabilizes, we'll see a huge solid consolidation, and post that is where we'll see what the long-term implications are. Is it going to be like a stable thing which is going to be competing with the fiat currency, or is it just something it just came and went just like a fad? So only time will tell how which one it goes forward with. But we need to be extremely careful as well that we don't end up burning our hands too much in this mania right now.
Yeah, absolutely, Harsh. Very rightly said. Talking about fiat, I'm going to ask Fabio, ex-banker and economist, what role banks play, and will they even be required in coming years?
Banks, or let's say traditional financial institutions, or even better to say regulated financial institutions, will always have a problem in dealing with the crypto world because regulators don't like it. And as I said many times on this show, the whole idea of the crypto world is to go around the regulation. In other words, to set its own package of rules and regulations, which have to be separated from those in the traditional financial system. Because, for example, if you want to, as a bank or again any other kind of traditional financial institution, want to operate in the securitization of real assets, You need to go through the know your customer, know your client regulation, anti-money laundering, capital requirements, and so on and so forth. So it's incredibly difficult for regulated entities to operate in this world unless the regulators come up with a framework especially designed for the crypto world. As of now, I don't see anything on the horizon. So we need to come to terms with the idea that the DeFi, decentralized finance, Bitcoin, blockchain, token, whatever else, must establish its own set of rules, and we need to find ways through which enforce them. That's the real challenge. It won't be easy, it won't be fast, but that's what needs to be done in this tokenization sphere and in any other aspect of the crypto slash blockchain slash DeFi world.
Okay, that's one perspective, Fabio. I would like to know from Gary, do you think banks are going to embrace this product as well?
I mean, the situation is they're going to have no choice because they're either going to move forward or they're going to die. I mean, banks are in a challenging situation now because the whole banking system has been disrupted over the last year with this digital transformation and the pandemic. I mean, things have changed. Their business is down in many situations. And their traditional way of doing business one-on-one has been changed. So now they either move forward with some of the new products, and you see it with the cryptocurrencies, right? They're starting, before it was, oh, I'm not going to do it. All the drug dealers have it. It's not interesting. Now it's like it's the best idea their board of directors ever had. And so it's like, and then you get government officials, oh, we're not going to do it. It's only for drug dealers. And then the mayor of Miami Suarez embraces it, and all of a sudden it's a good thing. Here's, you got Miami Vice a few years ago, and now you got, embracing cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So you figure it out. But, we need to move ahead as I almost said the universe, but as a planet, we need to move ahead and we need to democratize opportunities. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. Think how much smoother transactions. I mean, I use Bitcoin for transactions too. I mean, we get paid in Bitcoin, send payments out in Bitcoin, and it just streamlines it. But Fabio's right. I mean, part of it is regulation and, setting up the system to be able to regulate it. But at the same time, the beauty of the cryptocurrencies is that you can do it quickly and efficiently without having all the BS. Although, as we've said many times, they talk about money laundering, but it's really cash is what they use for money laundering, right? It's not, cryptocurrencies. But then the other situation is, making sure you don't get scammed, because once you start putting this stuff online and we bring quantum computers in, which is happening now. I mean, we've already started the push, and you can see some of the probing that's happening around the world and grids and banks and that kind of thing. It's going to really kill it, because a quantum computer, for the most part, can go into almost any system unless it's highly decentralized and encrypted and really destroy it. I mean, you're talking about systems that are 100 million times faster than a supercomputer that can do what would take 10,000 years in 200 seconds. So that kind of power. And then when you put artificial intelligence on top of it, you can do massive amounts of cyber attacks in seconds. And so we got, the one thing, once you put it online, be careful what you ask for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Fabio,
So that's, that's from my perspective. So the banks, the banks have to adapt or die. I mean, this whole digital world is changed the way banking is going to be done forever. And as we start to, we're just at the beginning stage of this. We're just scratching the surface of where this is going to go, because it's going to affect countries. You were saying with India not embracing Bitcoin. I mean, countries are going to have to embrace it, right? They're going to have any choice. And you can have and Fabio, I think, talked about it before. You can have your central bank develop their own currency, but how does that going to play in? That's a different than, having a Bitcoin. So how is that going to play in the rest of the world? And then who's going to rise to the top, right? It's who's going to be looked at as a standard. Is it going to be Bitcoin or somebody else? Which it seems like Bitcoin today. And where's Ethereum and Ethereum 2.0 going to play in the next couple of years? So, and then what about all these other coins? There's so many coins out there. I don't even know which one is which anymore.
Absolutely. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, are not cryptocurrencies. We all know that, right? Fabio had explained that.
No, it's just a digital version of the fiat currency. So it's just a way to facilitate, if you wish, online payment, electronic payments. It's nothing else than a current account, but instead of, a checking account. Instead of having that account with a commercial bank, you will have the account with the central bank. And the central bank will guarantee the transfer of money when you buy stuff on internet or when you make a payment, I don't know, at the restaurant or at the grocery store. So it's nothing more than maybe more reliable credit card. That's what it is. The central bank digital currency. So we should not call it cryptocurrency in order to avoid confusion.
Very good point. So does that mean that we get rid of this retail banks, the banks in between?
But that's the point. I mean, what you will have in the case of widespread adoption of central bank digital currency is the nationalization of the payment system for micro and retail transactions. So you will take out a big chunk of the banking system operations and transfer them to a central bank. So at that point, you don't need any more checks. You don't need a Visa or MasterCard credit card. Depending on what is the limit on these transfers from your central bank checking account, you can buy a house without going through a bank. So that's why I'm a little bit skeptical that such a massive shift of functions from the commercial banks to the central bank can take place so quickly, so easily, and without raising political opposition, because at that point the government will know everything you do, where you spend your money, in what you spend your money. It can, with a stroke of a pen, block that account for whatever reason. So there is an issue of personal liberty and civil liberty that hasn't been yet considered.
Very, very good insights, Fabio, on how to disrupt the banking system by using a CBDC. If I directly open an account to the central bank. Thank you so much. So that was banking system. Let's talk about investors. VCs, private investors, the investors we have. So what opportunities the tokenization provides for these investors today? Gary or Fabio, who would like to take it?
Do you want to
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll add to what you say.
Yeah, I
Go
mean, the
ahead.
situation is so for investors. I mean, this is a brave new world. And, you know, you got to keep your eyes wide open because remember, like I said, irrational exuberance. So when we're getting into this, there's a lot of stuff going on that is brand new ground that's being taken. And the thing is, you don't want to get into a situation. You got to be careful that it's not overhyped and that you're getting into something at a level that is not going to sustain itself. So what I would say is, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but we got to be really careful. It's really hyped up right now, really hyped up. And when you start selling tweets for a couple $1 million, and I'm not saying it's bad, but it sounds kind of odd to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, what, you know, where the limits of this going to go? Is this going to be something that's unsustainable? Is there going to be regulators? When you start having this much movement in any kind of a market, regulators start to get very, very interested in it, right? Because it sounds too good to be true. And I suspect I know that's already happening, and they're taking a look at it because it starts to be looked at, as Fabio would say, a security, right? When you start doing these kind of transactions, what is it really that we're doing? And are those people the ones that should be doing it? Are they, and there'll be all kinds of things come out. Are they illegal transactions? Is it money laundering? It's, the same kind of stuff they talked about crypto. But it's, the regulators are, I'm sure, are looking at it. I know they're looking at it. And what are their opinions going to be? Is it hyped up too much? And what kind of restrictions are they going to have on it? They're going to be parameters set. Are there going to be regulations enacted? Et cetera. So that's the only thing I can say. I would say be cautiously optimistic.
Absolutely.
Let me say what Gary is talking about is the non-fungible token. So when he says people would buy the very first tweet ever written for $2.5 million, it means that tweet has been put on sale through a form of tokenization, so which links the property of that electronic item, the first tweet, to a property right. Now, that thing has been sold for $2.5 million. You could say, it's weird. You can say, why would anyone do that? But that's nothing compared to tokenization of electronic kittens. And so people sell essentially pictures of cats. And what's worse, these pictures can breed, giving birth, electronic birth, to an offspring, which is then sold. And reportedly, one of these breeds has has been paid $100,000. Now, talking about tulip bubble and the like, this is in a class of its own.
But don't get any ideas, Sonny.
Yeah.
Dogs, parakeets, all kinds of things are open now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And goldfish was a new winner. I'm telling you, goldfish. Invest in goldfish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's hard to separate the weird from the crazy, from the totally psychotic. And unfortunately, when you have innovation, you can't set the border, set the limit somewhere. You have to accept that these things take place and accept it. But this kind of craziness is a blunder to the widespread acceptance of the decentralized finance. So we should be very clear and we should be very frank in pointing out that these excesses are not what cryptocurrency, blockchain, and whatever else is all about. We have to make clear that, for example, if an artist, a digital artist, sells its work through a non-fungible token, that is okay. If some artist sells the execution of whatever, a Beethoven sonata through a non-fungible token, that's okay. It's might be eccentric, but it's nothing to worry about. When you sell offspring of electronic kittens, we are in a totally different, sphere of weirdness. To be
how much you want for him, Fabio?
No, but maybe I'm the weird one. No,
you got something special. I know.
No, but maybe I'm the weird one who wouldn't pay $100,000 for an electronic kitten. Who knows? I might sound, old
You're going
fashioned.
to be saying, "I wish I would have bought some kittens. I wish I would have bought some kittens."
Exactly.
What was wrong with me? I remember when I could have gotten a kitten for $100,000.
And now it's $5 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is crazy.
They sell electronic cards of NBA players. The borderline is non-existent. So, but again,
that's where the problem is, because that's where regulators are going to step in when they saw that kind of stuff going on with kittens and all kinds of things that are odd. It's going to start bringing their attention. I'm telling you, they're going to jump in.
Yeah, it's but at that point it will be the FBI. It's not even regulators,
exactly.
like central bank regulators. It's going to be much worse.
Probably we've just gone FBI now.
Yeah, so I mean, it's we're in a brave new world, but this always happens when you have new technologies come out and people aren't sure the ways to apply it. I remember the beginning of e-commerce. I started one of the first e-commerce consulting companies back in the late 90s. And people said, this is not going to work. We're not going to do it. Nobody's going to use their credit card online. Why would people want to purchase for a company like Amazon? They only sell books. Why they can use Barnes and Nobles? Who cares about books? Why would I ever do that? I can go into a store and buy a product. And I remember my friend Pyong Chen said, it's a $30 billion cottage industry, and he started a company called Broad Vision. His net worth was up $8.5 billion. He then invested in China. People said, don't invest in China. What's wrong with you? And he's Taiwanese. He was original investor in Sina in Ufida in China, the largest internet portal in China, as well as 15 other companies. And so the rest is history. It's like every time when you do something, people think that you're a bit odd. When we did e-commerce, we were doing Walmart and we were doing American Airlines, Delta, working on their websites with this customized e-commerce tool. People said we're crazy. How can you do customer loyalty? And guess what? Now it's a standard. Everybody takes it for granted, but at the time it was odd. And so you see these kind of things at the beginning of the market, but you also see things that are odd too. You see things like pet rocks. Remember, they had pet rocks that they were selling many, many years ago, and people were buying stones. They literally picked them out of their driveways, put them in a box and named a rock, and people thought it was really cool and paying a lot of money for them. Seriously. And so what happened is, of course, one day it just stopped. And then people understood that this is ludicrous. Why in the hell would I get a rock in a cardboard box and charge $50 for it? What's wrong with that picture? But people did it at the time, and they were trading them and everything else. Look at Furbies. Look at those little stuffed toys. They had these stuffed toys, tie toys, and they were trading these toys, these plush animals. for quite some time. Then Cabbage Patch dolls. So you just, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just keep your eyes wide open coming in, because if it's too good to be true, sometimes it is. And that's the last thing. I remember this too. They used to say, you're buying swampland in Florida, and people would laugh in the northeastern U.S. But then when they found out that swampland's now Boca Raton, Florida, it's a whole different deal. So he could buy it for, pennies on the dollar. And now the situation changes. So, I think, so the good news is that digitalization is going to keep happening. It is going to democratize opportunities all over the world. It's going to highly optimize the financial institutions. The financial institutions that take it seriously are going to be part of this revolution, and the other ones that don't are going to die. Central banks, countries that don't accept cryptocurrencies are going to have challenges, because the world's changing, right? We're all coming together. You can see this conglomeration coming against not the dollar's, currently the standard, but you can see that changing very, very quickly for all kinds of different reasons. And the shift, I see it in Africa. We're dealing with Africa every single day. We'll be there next week in Nigeria, and I see it happening there. I mean, it's rising. They're rising as India is quickly. And so anyhow, so it opens up a whole new world of opportunities and helps us do business better, and especially during the pandemic, right, where we're cooped up in our houses. And we'll be here for another 3 months, 4 months, and then you're going to see a big push, people coming out of their house for about 6 months. You'll see an incredible push. You're going to see, from Gary's opinion, you're going to see stocks go through the roof, travel, hotels, all kinds of things are going to go insane. And then it's going to level out about 6 months later, and people are going to understand that these hybrid models, like what we're doing here today, are really the way to go for efficiencies, because they're going to understand how inefficient the old system was, and they're going to come back, and they're going to come back in droves.
Absolutely. One last question. So this Twitter's, Jack Dorsey is selling his first tweet as a non-fungible token, and the first bidder, obviously, as we know, 2.5 million. This model, what else is he open doors for? Like, this is like a digital, what is that called? That's autograph. So
yeah, it's no, but this again, if a collector wants to own in some form the very first tweet, that's okay. It's weird, it's eccentric, it's despicable, whatever you want to call it, but it's the property of something that is clear, obviously worth it to somebody, and maybe, I don't know, Mark Zuckerberg will put on sale the very first post on Facebook. And I'm sure that he'll find somebody to buy it. Okay.
There you go, Fabio. You've just given an idea.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe.
I think you should start an auction house, Fabio.
Yeah,
You have some very, very good ideas. You know that?
Yeah. No, and again, I mean, if I were Banksy, I would put on sale one, instead of putting these murals, I would put on sale one of my digital creation with a certificate of authenticity, call it non-fungible token, and that's perfectly acceptable. I don't find that an aberration. I find it something that it's a way of collecting stuff in the digital era. Things are completely different when you want to sell 1/1,000,000th of Mona Lisa. That I find it bordering with fraud. And I want to add something, from a historical perspective. Gary is right. Amazon, all the innovation were met with skepticism when they first came out. But there are also cases where people spent a lot of money on the new hype. And one example is Second Life. Remember Second Life, where big corporations were buying real estate because at that time Second Life was the place to be. The brand could not be out of Second Life, and blah blah blah. And now, who remembers Second Life? MySpace is another case. There are companies, there are websites that sell real estate on the moon, and people buy it. Now, who are those people? Weirdos, gullible, bored, rich people? I don't know.
All of the above, Fabio, a little bit of the above. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a combination of the
little out there with a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. So I will start selling a portion of I don't know, Jupiter, and maybe I'll find somebody who buys it. Well, I will tokenize Jupiter, and maybe
How much do you want? How much do you want?
I mean, I'm okay with I don't know, $1 per square meter. I'm sure that there is enough.
You could have
Jupiter
you could have your kitten ranch on Jupiter and sell them.
That's a perfect business plan, Gary. We should implement it as soon as we get
I think
off.
it would be out of this world.
Yeah, no, the Jupiter cat breed, I think, will be a hit on
the Jupiter Cat Ranch.
Exactly.
This is crazy. Real estate on Mars.
I think it's a great idea, Fabi. You hit on something.
We're on to something, Gary. Let me tell you.
I think we should do it planet by planet, right? And have it set up. You could have the dog thing, a cat thing, a bird thing. You can have all kinds of different things. And then what if you wanted
horses on Venus,
Exactly. I think you've nailed it. You should put it together. As crazy as it is, I think it would work.
I think so too.
Crazy what these people do. Seriously, I think this is the first episode I've laughed so much in a good way. Oh, jeez. We're almost wrapping up the show now. So great laugh, family hour, therapy session. That's why people given these names.
I can't tell you how many times that I've heard from people that are on VCTV. Seriously, that it's therapy. And I've heard it from some of the wealthy family offices that come on. I've heard it from VCs seriously telling me like regularly, it's like therapy. And you know it is, because there's some knowledge that Fabio gives me that I got to tell you, I didn't know about the kittens, Fabio. You're enlightening.
The offspring as well, the way he narrated it.
I'm getting my credit card ready now.
Such a funny stuff, but yeah, the very well narrated, Fabio, and really great session. I learned a lot as well, as just Gary said. I've learned a lot from Fabio today with his insights as well. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the session. It was a fun session for me. I thoroughly enjoyed. I couldn't stop laughing. Thank you so much. Let's take some closing remarks. Fabio, over to you.
I'm telling you, I'll have this Venus horse instead of the saddle, the air tank, big helm, casket for breathing. I put it on sale for $10, and if it hits the right spot, I think I might be living comfortably for the rest of my life.
I think you got the right thing, Fabio. $10 it is. Anybody want 15? 15.
There you go. It's on. Perfect. Gary?
Yeah, I mean, as we can see, the world is dramatically shifting over the last year, especially, and things that were seemingly impossible are now possible. And what we need to do is filter out the good from the bad and look for the opportunities that are going to be here the cryptocurrency, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, people said it was only for drug dealers and illicit activity. And look what's happened. It's being embraced by government. So sometimes, and in fact, my friend that's got a 1 million Bitcoin said, I didn't realize in the beginning when I first started investing this, it was like pennies on the dollar, that I was going to be worth today $55 billion, right? So, look at it, understand it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread it out and diversify, as Fabio says, so that you don't have your risk in one basket. This is a great opportunity. My name's Gary Fowler. You can reach me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter. Happy to hear from you, and go out there and get them. Keep your eyes open and partake in this incredible new digital transformation.
Thank you so much, Gary. Really amazing session. Fabio, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook, Twitter, under my last name, which is quite unique. So if you Google Scacciavillani on Google, you'll get 20,000 pages. So you'll definitely be able to find me. But anyway, I'm on pretty much every social network, and my investment bank is Golden Eagle Capital Advisor in New York.
There you go. You see that? He wants to tokenize Mars.
Well,
you hit the jackpot. I'm telling you. Let's do it before Elon Musk. Come on. Let's get it up, Fabio. Come on. You see it? Now watch. I'll tell you what, Fabio. In another month, if they got Mars tokens, you're going to kick yourself in the butt because they're going to have cats up there. I'm telling you.
No, Gary, we must do it before anybody else. Let's get off the video and start the yeah.
I think we should do it,
We should do it as soon as possible.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that comment. Most fun.
We're laughing about it, but I'm telling you, somebody's going to do it. It's so crazy. Somebody's going to do it, right?
Yes, I totally agree with you, Gary. Maybe.
And then we're going to be kicking ourselves, saying, it's going to be. We could have made $1 billion, Gary, if we just want to tokenize Mars. Remember that conversation we had? Sonny was right here. Remember that, Sonny? Oh, wait till we do Jupiter next.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Fabio, for making the show really, really funny, besides giving out a lot of information, relevant information on tokenization. I really loved the session today. I'm sure all the viewers have loved it too, and laughed as well with us. It's a great timing. So we wrap up the show. I'm back again tomorrow with another topic and another set of speakers. Till then, keep watching VCTV and take care of yourself. Bye, Gary.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.